part 2 of Angelic offspring and bloodlines. You know, we live and exist in a bubble, pockets of a multiverse. And over so many different years of passing, so many different clues have been left for us to get an understanding of why we exist and why we are here. And I was speaking in the last film, in part 1, I was speaking on Enoch and how through his offspring being connected to Noah, coming from that lineage, Noah was of a special blood, it had stated in some of these scriptures, to where he was born with glowing eyes, blonde, sandy hair. So his features were very specific, and they spoke that it was a very direct bloodline. And I believe that this was of the righteous bloodline, because he had access to a lot of messages. And of course, Methuselah, who was also connected to Noah and Enoch, lived to be 975 years, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a time prior to the flood that has been known through agriculture and all kinds of evidence through fossils, that there was a flood worldwide. And prior to this flood, the lifespan of people were very different, because it was a lot of angelic blood that had been passed through the watchers. Now specifically, I would like to talk about a specific Angelos. This would be one identified as Lucifer. Another connection to him would also be Azazel, but there were two different falls, so I'm going to speak on them separately. And I'm going to put an uncut version and an unknown version that's not really common to most people about who I would call Iblis. Many in the biblical would call him either Satan, Shaitan. I've even known him to be called Abaddon of the abyss in 9/11. But here is where it starts. In the beginning, Iblis, or Lucifer, was the anointed cherub. Cherub meaning angel. And he had every special stone as his covering, from topaz, carbuncle, onyx, jasper, emerald. The plates and the pipes were made for him because he was the choir. He taught the angels themselves how to properly worship. And he was the anointed cherub. And this was of high office in the heavens. Now, at this point, we're speaking of Ezekiel 28:14. So he was the most beautiful and glorious one. And then it states in Ezekiel 28:14, until iniquity was found in him. And then he was thrown to the ground. And then we can go to Revelation, to where it says that there was a war in heaven with Michael and the great dragon. Now the reason why they're saying dragon, of course, speaking again on angels, because fiery serpent of the seraphim that I was speaking of last time, and the cherubs were known to be fiery serpents. So this is why now, because why would he become a dragon if he was the most beautiful angel? The seraphim were already angels, so cherubim and seraphim were fiery serpents. So he took 1/3 of the heavens, and he was thrown to the earth. Not to an abyss, but in Revelation 12 it states that he was thrown to the earth. So then I want to go to a connection to where I knew that he had dominion over the earth. For one, when they connected Satan and Yeshua, he had offered Yeshua the whole entire world. But we'll get back to that. We can get to the garden now. And it says that the serpent was the most subtle of the forest. Now the serpent, again, the dragons, I already said the seraphim, fiery serpents. So that connects it right there. So in the Garden of Eden, he was the most subtle. So what was the forbidden fruit? And then speaking on the offspring, why was the first child of Adam and Eve, Cain, why was he wicked? I had hinted on the last film that the forbidden fruit could have been sex between the two, some type of intercourse, because it was forbidden between angelic beings and the humans at this time. Now, we can also go to the Quran, and this will be in Surah 7, when Iblis, also known as Satan, was told to bow to Adam. He refused, and he said because he was made of fire and Adam was made of mud and clay. So he didn't understand that. And the angels had already put out there that they felt like the creation of these humans would cause mischief because the angels were here before. So of course, as far as the Quran states, Iblis said that since he had to be thrown to a state to the ground, he would make respite for them all of their lives on earth. So this is two versions of what the rebellion was about. One states that iniquity was found in the heart of Satan or Iblis. And then in this one, it was because he refused to submit to the human being. So then in the cause with Azazel and the 200 angels, they came and gave the world an upgrade, a civilization upgrade. When they came, they taught the women and the children of there, which were demigods, that's connected to the Greek gods, because Apollyon and all of them and 9/11 has the same name as the Greek gods. So a lot of the ones that they had known in Greek as the gods were what we knew as the fallen angels. And Azazel and his crew, they taught witchcraft, they taught architecture. So they gave a civilization upgrade. This is what those group of angels did. So there was something about the connection with the women. And for so many reasons, the councils took all of the information about the powerful women as Sophia and Isis and all of these things, and they villainized most of the women based on the papacy and the patriarch system. But Azazel and his 200 angels, which I had stated came during the 19th dynasty, upgraded the civilization. They taught them all of the things, technology, and this is what they do to this day. We just have different words to describe what these aliens / angels / demons, because there's so many words for the same thing. But through these angelic bloodlines and hybrids, we have people that exist today. Simon, his name, they had called him the Black Christ. He had been assassinated over a couple of times. And there's people still that have the blood of the angelic blood in them to this day. And I've named Yeshua, of course, John the Baptist, many of the disciples, the bloodline of Mary Magdalene between Yeshua. And then, of course, there's the wicked archonic forces. But with Noah, he was told to be of a special blood, and I believe was connected to Yeshua, David, Solomon, Elijah, and John the Baptist also being connected as possibly Elijah. So this angelic offspring, these demigods, are very well within everybody within our history, from Gilgamesh, Hercules, Samson, all of these mentioned before. If they were special, they most likely have that angelic blood in them that exists to this day. So everything that they put off as myth, it was told that it was myth and not true, so we wouldn't embrace who we are. Because we are those same legends that we read about. And many of us carry the bloodline. Rather, we are offspring or we have the angelic blood in us. And we can know it by our fruits. When you see Sha'Carri Richardson, or you see people like Muhammad Ali, the athletic feats, Michael Jordan, Mike Tyson, people like Michael Jackson, don't deny yourself. We are the legends that we read about. Ancient Nine Mystery School, Saint Germain, Angelic Offspring and Bloodlines, Part 2.